Yep, fall is here. It's fun because it's, there's the season thing for me has been fun because I grew up and lived in cities that don't really have seasons. I even thought that when I moved to Miami from LA I was like, but LA has seasons. It's like, not really. It has a lot more seasons than Miami does. But anyway, so living here, there really is like, in so many ways, this like shifting to all the seasons. And I get very excited about the winter because I really like to ski. So I find myself, this transition period of, okay, we're going to say goodbye to the garden soon. And you start hunkering down, the days get shorter. There's just this natural kind of pulling you inside, at least from when you think about what you're after in the summer. So for me, the fall, I've thought about like, what is my favorite season as I've lived here? And there's something fun about fall because of it's signaling this big change. And it comes after some of these really hot months that almost kill me, at least in my mind. So, in terms of what we do in the body, in terms of what we do in the mind, everything kind of, is moving into this more, you're pulling yourself inside. You can do like the inner work. Makes a lot more sense in these literally darker months to come. So as you sit up tall and close your eyes, just acknowledging that. And we see it, especially in this class, as we walk out of here and we have less light, it's darker, the feel of the day, the feel of each of the hours of the day are shifting. And there might be a natural desire to want, to cling, to want, to whatever your preference is. Of course we do those things. But practice today is just kind of flavored with that reminder of the way that we orient to the season that's around us, to the energy of the season that we're in, and how we can line up with it, sync up with it, flow a little more gracefully as we move into the darkness of winter. And bring your hands together right in front of your heart. Just take a breath, fill up, and as you exhale, let your skin relax. Try to stay tall in your seat, though, as you do that again. Big inhale. Letting the air out without shrinking down. Stay full inside. One more time. Inhale. And exhale. And then join me. 3 ohms, 1 round of the invocation. Take a deep breath. Namah Shivaya Gurave Sachitananda Murtaye Nishprapanchaya Shantaya Niralambaya Tejase. You can bow your head and then release your hands and open your eyes. And then come up to hands and knees to start all fours. And then spread your fingers wide apart. Press down so the tips of your fingers are heavy on the floor, drawing the center of your palm up away from the floor. Once you have that, move around any way you wish, any way that feels good. Once you've done, fingers pointing forward, turn your hands out, kind of working as much turnout as you can. And then the same thing, turning the hands back in. So you rotate in. And a little helpful tip is if you just think about your ring fingers and you make those guys really strong, that'll help get all of the fingers a little more active. If you kind of go to the weakest link and you put your attention on that. Then one more, back of the hands down like this. Press the fingernails into the mat. And the feeling is like you're trying to take your forearm and drag it away from your hand. So I'm pushing my hand down, I'm trying to slide forward. You can kind of work in there a little bit, nothing too aggressive. But good actions is always the kind of theme. And then, you might want a quick shake out of your hands, head up into downward facing dog. When you're ready. You can step around from leg to leg. You can shift the weight from one arm and then to the other. And even the pace of your movement, if you think about just kind of moving in a really mindful way, what does the speed look like to you that's relevant to how you feel, to what's going on in your body or your mind? And then from there, just walk to the front of your mat so you're in a forward fold. A couple breaths folding forward here. And put it really heavy into the ground as you pull your belly up towards your spine. Let the neck, let the shoulders get heavier. And then on an inhale, take your head forward, like halfway lifting. Exhale and fold back down. On the inhale, again, lift. And you can do what I'm doing. Like hands can come up to the top of the thighs and help push the thighs back as you exhale and fold. Then keep them moving back. Be careful if you are pushing there. One more time. Inhale and lift your chest. That you're not slamming your knees back. That you're really getting the top of the thigh bone back. And fold. Hands to hips. Lift your chest all the way up to stand. And then a big breath as you stretch up. See it from here. Make your fingers like you were holding something so you're active. And you're trying less about yanking your hands back, but more about pulling your armpits and your shoulders back. So if you take the hands a little forward, it's easier. Armpits back, and then you try to open up. Push down, stretch super tall. Take the hold of the right wrist. You start bending to the side there. Trying to stay still aware of, are you able to keep your shoulder stacked over shoulders and hips and ground? Good, and then stand back up tall. Go the other side. Breathing the whole time, grounding heavy into your feet. And then inhale, back up. Bring the arms down by your side. Bend your knees, sit back to a squat. Take a moment just to anchor heavy through the toes. Shifting the knees back should help you to make the heels heavier. And then lift your chest. The hands can remain down on the legs like this, or they can come off, or they could even go over your head. Try to do a pose that's not super, super intense right away. So if you need to maybe stand a little higher, not get so low in there. You're trying to find a little bit of warmth, a little bit of heat in the body, but a really manageable quality. If you're so tense and tight, the tendency that something's going to go wrong is much greater. Give it one more breath. See if you can sit down a little, like you're pulsing down into your legs and then opening up taller through the spine. One more big inhale here. And then all the way forward, touch the floor. Step your right leg back so you're in a lunge. Bring your hands up onto your front knee, find your balance. And really push down with the back, both feet, heavy into the floor, and then rise up tall through your chest. You can take the arms overhead when you're ready, but address if there is any stability, if there's anything in the legs and the lower body that need tending to. Reminder to try to lift your back knee a little stronger. The feeling like you were going to spring and jump off of your back foot, but still heavy in the front foot as well. One more big inhale, stretch up. And then back to downward dog. Touch the floor, step all the way back. Keeping the fingertips heavy, go to plank pose, the top of a push-up. And then exhale, bend your elbows, lower all the way down. Then point your toes, cobra pose, come up a little bit. Continuing to try to take your shoulder blades onto your back to scoop and get the chest, the heart, to lift more. Downward dog when you're ready. Take the right leg to the sky. Big step forward into a lunge. Pause as you make your way up, as you get heavy through the feet. So, and like we did this last week, if you bend forward, it makes it a lot easier on your back leg to straighten it, to lift it. There's such a tendency for people to think their back leg is straight, and it's not. So once you have that, then seeing if you can extend your spine more without losing that back leg. Taking the arms up, and you're just holding with this, this balance of like steadiness allows the ease that you'll feel in this pose. So you do the things that keep you anchored here, that allow your breath to be more relaxed, to be more effortless. Push your feet down, tall stretch. Good. And then downward facing dog. Touch the floor, head on back. And again, from there, inhale your way to the top of a push-up, plank position. Exhale as you lower down. And then slide forward and then up into cobra. Or up dog, potentially. Good. Downward dog. Keeping your right hand strong on the mat. Walk your left hand back towards your right foot or your right calf muscle, ankle, somewhere around there. So you got to squeeze the floor with the right hand that's still down, but at the same time try to actually lift the arm bone. So it's like from the way you push the hand into the floor, you make the armpit lift. And then you can twist and look under. Good. Other way, bring the other hand down. So now you're walking your right hand back to your leg for this twist. Strong, so instead of like dropping to your head to the floor, lift the armpit, the shoulder up, and then stretch through. Good, guys. And then all the way back to downward facing dog. From there, bend your knees. You can walk or jump to the front of your mat, and then bow and fold down. Push your feet into the floor, lift your chest to come all the way up. And that big, tall stretch at the top. Interlock your fingers, take your hands now behind your head, keeping your elbows pointing forward. The more you slide your hands back, this is the harder it is on the shoulders for you to do that. So you're welcome to kind of take it a little further. Keep your chin lifted. Keep your ribs pulled in tight, even like you think your ab muscles pulled in tight. And then bend your knees and go down into that squat. Especially if you chose to make that arm position harder, you're going to be looking at the floor because it's in order to get the lower body into position. the knees back, the hips back, it's going to tip you forward. So keep the belly and keep this feeling like you're restraining those bottom ribs to stay connected, to stay in, and see if you can curl back through the head. If you can lengthen from your hips all the way up through the top of the head like you're creating this traction that can propel that height. Good. And then from there, you can just fold yourself forward, release the hands to the floor. Good. And then inhale, lift your chest. So left foot back lunge. Come on up. So same deal. If you need that reminder, especially if you're newer to these actions or it's just been a little while, push off that back foot. Feel with your leg. The muscle should be tight and strong the whole time. Then chest rise up. The work's going to feel like you're putting the effort into the back leg and actually trying not to put much effort into the front leg. That's weird, right? Because your front quad is going to get fatigued. Your back leg is not really going to get tired, but you're trying to make it kind of do more work so you can find greater depth. Take the arms up and stretch. So think that pillar of your back leg, use that for leverage as you move forward. So you're going to lean forward, you can reach forward, step into that front leg. Work your lifted foot and your leg in order to feel the strength. Like you can play with turn the toes down, try to lift it up, but not just going for how high you can lift the foot, but really to feel what muscles are being turned on, what is being demanded of you to create the stability here. Good. And then from there, you're just going to bend the front knee and take it back down to the lunge. Then open it up to warrior two. The back foot spins down, so it's parallel to the short side of your mat. And then arms extend back out. Similarly, the back leg here, the straight leg here is the one that generally is pretty soft in people. So can you make those muscles compress and hold evenly on the leg? And that's like a conversation of a question I'm asking you, because it's hard to get the inner part of the leg to cooperate, those medial leg muscles to hug into the thigh. So you do your best to keep that leg strong, to feel the support, the container on that back leg, and again, try to soften the work in the front leg. Try to allow the hips to slide apart a little deeper. And then from there, go back to reverse warrior. Right arm up high to stretch. Yeah. And then inhale your way back to warrior. Take your elbow down to your knee, side angle. Top arm, reach over your head, rotating the palm down. Once you're there and you can still do all that awesome leg stuff, you're welcome to try to take your bottom fingers to touch the mat, to go, into this deeper shape. But it's like, I know all of you, we could get you to put your hands on the floor, but the question really is, are you able to maintain the actions, or is it just this kind of like you're forcing yourself into a pose that, quote, is deeper? The actions are what's going to allow the body to really open up. Like forcing openings doesn't really work super well. Again, strong planting down through that back leg, even through the hand it can be touching the ground or it can be touching your leg. Push down and open your chest up a little more. Good. And then from there, take the hands to the floor, head back to downward dog. Inhale forward to push-up position, plank pose. Slowly down on the exhale, up dog or cobra. Notice if your eyes are quick to look up and just soften them in this pose. Maybe look a little more down and then back to downward dog. Like certain kind of personality types will have more of a tendency to that, for the eyes to move first, for the eyes to pull you into these movements. It's one of the ways that we can really kind of soften and temper The quality is actually being really careful. Think about where you're looking. Take your left leg to the sky. Take a big step forward into a high lunge. Come on up. That lean forward, that strong leg, and then you rise. You can take the arms up. Again, when you're ready, just emphasizing it's got to start in the bottom foot. Because if the ankle, that's generally the weakest link on the back leg. If it wobbles there, it's going to rob you of all the strength through your legs. You got to stick the foot into the floor, make the ankle lift more, maybe even the heel, and then tight through the entire leg all the way up into the hip. Then reach forward, really reach forward so you can stand up in that front leg and do whatever you can to connect to the muscles in the back. Like I say, do whatever you can. Like try different things or use your hands so you feel and you start to just make that brain-body connection, that's what it feels like. Or, maybe I could do actually a little more of that action with some practice. All right, bend your knees, step back down to the lunge. Open it up for warrior two, taking your back heel to the floor and making all the little adjustments once you're there. And again, tight through the back leg. You know, when you become more experienced doing these poses and thinking about this, a lot of times what I'm thinking is like, how much can I get into my back leg? How much can I grip and anchor that foot down, but without it affecting anything else? Like my face didn't get tight. That's one of the places for me, like you'll kind of like tense your neck and your face muscles. It's like, that's got to be soft as you're firing up one part, releasing into the other. From there, back to reverse warrior, lean back, stretch your left arm up tall. Yes. And then inhale and come back to warrior. Come down to side angle. It can be the elbow on the knee, or you can go even a little deeper. Take the top arm, stretch it over your head, making even the fingers deliberately stretching. The bottom hand can always move down to take you further and further. But there is something that the body knows. Like when the whole body works together, there's this kind of global opening and release. That's what we're talking about, is can you keep the action in the legs? Can you make your spine want to grow longer? All of that twist in that upper body really is propelled by strong legs. From there, guys, just come back up to stand. Pivot, so bring your feet a little closer together. Turn your feet out a little bit. So you're going narrower and then toe out at like about 45 degrees. It can be more if your kneecaps can stay pointing over your toes. And then you're squatting down. So the big thing is the knees are going to want to cave in when you've gone too far. So that's what you want to watch out for, that you, with the leg muscles, can pull the knees apart and still weight the inner edges of your feet. Squat down into the hips, move your butt back more, make sure the toes are still holding into the ground. And then same kind of upper body stuff as we've done before. Belly in, bottom ribs braced in, butt back. And as you push your feet down, see if you can open and lift your chest. So hands can stay there. You could lift them off if you want to make this spicier. So it's knees wide, hips back. And again, obviously it's tense, but don't make it overly tense. You want to be able to hold strong and still have softness. One more breath. And then drive through the floor to stand. That got me warmer. Take your feet now wider apart, toes forward, and touch the mat. Yeah. You can play with how wide apart you go. It's not like there's a really set distance. In fact, it's a good idea to try different things, especially when you practice yoga often, like kind of toying with, the further apart you start to separate your legs, the harder it is to stabilize that. Like you've taken things, to such an extreme that it's the strength part that is most challenged the wider you get. And that's really like a very important thing, like especially the conversation of arthritis and a lot of these things, which, sadly, we're seeing a lot of kind of the generation before me that was the yoga teachers all going for kind of surgeries that are arthritic related. Like to prevent, a lot of this is like strength in those end ranges of motion. If you're strong through your joints, the strength is protecting the joint, then it is quite helpful for preventing some of that kind of arthritic breakdown that is in some ways inevitable. Take your hands, walk them over to the right leg. You're going to do a few of these little side-to-side squats. For today, I know we'll do this where you're going really deep all the time. Start just by what you can move under the power of your legs. You can use your hands to touch the floor. But for those of you that can start to swivel down deep into this, watch out for that tendency to want to just kind of flop to the end and rather keep it on tension. Try to move smooth and slow through both of those positions. And, as deep as it's going to be for you, it doesn't necessarily matter, but try to keep the weight in your legs, the movement driven from your legs. Always taking the hips back. So when you're able to get pretty deep in this, think about keeping your hips closer to the floor through the transition. That'll make it harder. And then the more upright the spine is also makes it harder. And it's hard, right? Because when you go over, it's not, for most of us, it's not just the strength that may be limiting you from getting all the way down in this, but it's a really smart way of kind of tackling it. Of put your body, these areas under the load of your body, control it. And honestly, if you do this consistently, it changes. It just takes consistency. All right, back to the center position. Walk hands to hips, lift your chest, come back up. Good, and then step to the front of your mat. Good. Nice tall stance, press your feet down, big breath in, reach up. Exhale, folding forward all the way over. And touch the floor. Do one more nice deep breath in. Letting the neck raise deeper. And then back to downward facing dog. Step back. And then inhale to the top of a push-up. Exhale all the way down to the floor. So once you're down there, clasp your hands behind your back. You can rest your forehead down. And then straighten your legs out so that you got to think about first of all, that your feet are actually pointing straight back, that your feet aren't sickled, aren't twisted in, and more little toe down to the mat will help. From here, when you inhale, legs and upper body are going to lift. Do something like this. And then as you exhale to let go of the tension slowly, you can keep coming down. So you're doing little kind of max effort contraction pulses here. So legs up, arms up, squeeze. And then slowly release things back out. You can shake out and then do it again. A little bit of momentum on the way you come up can be used. Because if you can kind of snap up a little bit into it, you're going to be able to contract back muscles a little more strongly. And you guys have done something like this with me at some point in your yoga practicing. But doing it this way, I want to make sure you're aware of how much of your body really has to work together to make this happen. The legs, the glutes, the back, the shoulders. Good. Once you've done a few there, just come back down to lay on your back. Sorry, you're going to lay down and then flip over so you're laying on your back. I know, that was confusing. Okay, I lied about the laying down. Sitting, backside like this. We're going to do the opposite. So take your hands to the floor first. Push the ground away, keeping strength in your fingertips. Lift your chest, and then you can lift your hips up. And similarly, you can do the same thing in pulses. This one, strong through the fingers, shoulders back. Each time you lift, make sure you're actively pushing the ground away from you, moving your shoulders down towards your hands. So doing it with that much kind of intensity should be trickier to hold. Don't think you're going to just get your hips all the way up. It should be kind of hard to get the hips to extend here. Yeah. And again, doing them in these little punctuated pulses hopefully gives you a little more of a way to target and feel this and drive it more powerfully. So like you're able to go deeper when you build the strength for it. It should take some time. You okay, Joy? A little something just, yeah. I even noticed, I was doing this morning because I was like sitting on the sofa with my computer like a fool like this, working. And then of course I get up and I'm dumb enough that it didn't occur to me that it was me sitting at the computer. I was like, what have I done to my shoulder? I need to do some yoga or get into the gym again. And then when I walked back into where my computer was, I was like, I'm like sitting down. I'm in a terrible position for my shoulder. It still hurts. I still kind of feel it. It's cool though. It becomes something that, maybe you get a little pain in something, but it's not going to, if you keep it moving, if you're smart, it shouldn't be the end of healthy movements. All right, back to down dog once you've done a few of those. Take your right leg up to the sky. Bend the knee and twist. So big stretch open. Try to turn the hips open. Send your standing leg further back. And then all the way forward, come up into a lunge. Pressing the feet down as you rise up. Bringing the fingers together to touch, the hands behind the head like the arm position we did in chair pose earlier. Push down through the legs. So first maximize the length you can get through your spine. Think hips push to the ground and every vertebra moves up as much as possible. Then from there, start to lean back into it. So not just the head goes back, but literally take your rib cage and move it back. Good. And then see if you can hold there. Still strong in the legs, heavy in the front heel. See if you can shift back more and more. And really, if I was able to adjust, I would kind of push you more in the bottom ribs. I try to move that part a little more so that we don't overdo it on the low back. We don't try to bend the low back. And once you get to wherever your limit is here, pull your hands straight back away from your head. You could do that so much that the arms completely straighten or not. Again, one more breath. Sit a little heavier in that front knee, bend into that front knee, rise up and back. Good. And then take the hands all the way to the floor. Downward dog. Give you a moment to take a breath. If you want to do a vinyasa, go for it. It's fun watching everyone think about the vinyasa okay, yeah, let's do that. Cool, guys. Awesome. And then left leg to the sky in down dog. Bend the knee, roll it open, twist. So try to take that top knee up and back. Try to push your standing leg back. Be real strong in your right arm. Yes. Good. And then all the way forward, lunge. Step up. Good. And then come on up. Again, solid legs. And you can rise. So, some of this rib cage, like I would kind of try to touch in these areas because it just seems like a hard place to move. If it's okay on your shoulders to grab your rib cage here, like to dig your thumbs into the back, try for this, and then see if you can get in there and actually physically give yourself a little reminder of lift. Now, it's like all this stuff, it doesn't work if I just kind of force you tall. You got to do it with your breath too. So even though you have your hands there, take a breath, fill up inside, and then as you exhale, see if you can soften without collapsing. On the inhale, again, rise up, start to lean back. You can move your hands like to those front ribs. You just kind of pat them back, pet them into the back body. Heart goes up to the sky, then all that back action come. Remind your back leg to stay strong, sit heavier into your front foot, arms behind your head, and then pulled straight back away from your head. And keep working it like that. On the inhales, rise up, sit a little deeper in the front leg as you exhale, and then tall spine, head back, curl back. Good poses, guys. Take the hands to the floor. Nice. Downward facing dog. Good. All right, and then bend your knees, walk or jump to the front of your mat, and fold. Bring your hands to your hips and lift your chest to stand up. So then from there, just find a little bit of wall space so you guys can just pull over so you have some blank wall to crawl on. Stacy, you can go there if you want. I mean, I'll stay. You can go anywhere you want. I'm just, Yeah. Nice. We'd probably even be on, maybe on the edge of the camera. All right. Just wanted to give you more consistency with kind of working this. I know we're in a different place. I'm going to give you a quick drill, and then we'll give you some free time to play around. So some of this compression strength stuff from an L pose is how I would, more beginners start working on this, where I am active through my shoulders, which means I'm like trying to claw the mat, lift my shoulders, and then drive the mat away. That's one action. You can do that just on your own. I think a lot of you have done something like this, where it's just a scapular push-up, if you will. And once you have that, then you see if you can keep that going on legs. So now it's top leg, turned in, squeezed in, little toes on the foot. That's what I think of, like my little toes are active. And then watch, I push down through the shoulders and I stretch up through the legs. It's down into the earth first, up second. Little pulses, trying to get to the point where you can hold that like max extension with a sense of calm. Like you're not freaking out. So again, you can try to hold that longer, or it can just be a moment of trying to get to that and then releasing out of it. Try. So it's, and it's one of those things, like if this is really new for your shoulders, do a few and think smooth first. All that movement in the shoulders, try to keep it really smooth. So you're not overdoing it, so you're really training some of the small muscles for this. You got it. So one of the things you can do too is keep your hands, if you have your hands in front and your shoulders are behind your wrist, it's easier. So if you come in like this, your hands probably are in the right spot, but it's taking your shoulders back more. So instead of stacking, go back like this and get close to the wall. And then walk up. And then take a big step up onto the wall. Yes. See, and the more you have your chest back towards the wall, it's easier on your shoulders. Straight, keep your arms straight as you can, though. So yeah, a good thing to do is like go up there, try to hold straight and strong. Look at your hands so you kind of remember to. Go up, hold for a few breaths, come down, try it again. Like just do it until that becomes comfortable. I know, I love telling people like it will get comfortable if you work on it. Because I know when I start doing these things, and like you have a coach working you and you're shaking and you're sweating, and your body learns if you do it all the time. Good. So, I mean, once you have that, you are welcome to turn around and try to kick up. If you think about how you translate that, the point is you need to be tight and strong. Like your legs need to be active for you to be light in the kick up, for you to be successful. So it's the same deal. I mean, you get to the wall, you lock that leg in, and you just try to get to the point where you are leaving the ground and coming back to it lightly at first. At first, it's just like jump and don't crash back down. So you can stay working in L pose. You can do any of these variations. I'm going to give you a couple minutes to be on your hands, to be upside down. Let's see one that looked good, Mira. I have to stand over here, though. Let's see one more. I had to move away from the wall because I'm so Yeah. It's good. You're looking smooth. Yeah, so keep the lead leg straight too. The lead leg, yeah. That's it. That's the type of thing. Like make it hard. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're getting it. Because a lot of times when you make it hard, you're going to have like 2 tries and then you're like cooked. You know how they get progressively worse. So you shake it off and then, yeah. But it looks good. You too, Joy. You both are looking very light. I love to make fun of so many exercises, but I love the handstand. It's like I have that almost unrealistic love of handstand because I think it's such a good thing for your shoulders to know how to do. Not just your shoulders, but you guys look great. All right, finish up. Start making your way back. Take another. And then back into downward dog when you get back. Yeah. So again, find your way back into down dog. Take a minute just to move around. You guys did such a good job. Usually handstand is a pose that tends to kind of energize us and amp us up, gets people excited, talkative. You know, it's much more if you think of this light or summertime kind of quality. But it doesn't mean you can't practice handstand with a more heavy, turned-in focus. You guys did a great job. It was like just experience, I guess. Take your right leg up to the sky, and then step forward into a lunge. From there, you're going to keep your hands down on the mat. Try to lift your hips. Start with pushing your feet down. Get your butt to lift, and then pull back on the front leg, straightening it. Give you a couple tries to do that, just to ease into a straighter leg. But feeling like as the front leg gets totally straight, you're actively pulling the abdomen, the belly away from the thigh. You're not trying to relax so your belly was just resting on your leg. And it's worth saying, some of you guys might be flexible enough that you could actually touch and still be engaged. So it's not what it looks like necessarily. It's the action in your body. All right, so now hop the back foot in so you're shortening your stance a little bit. You're still in a couple feet apart stance here. Then walk your fingers. If you need to be unblocked, that's fine. Do that. Otherwise, turn your fingers to point towards your back foot. Keep lifting your hips, and little by little, walk your fingers back to your back foot. Some of you might not get too far at all. That's fine. The thing to keep an eye on is your front leg. The front foot is pressing down, and it is isometrically dragging back. So from that dragging back action, your right sit bone, your right glute lifts up to the ceiling a little bit more. So the direction, if you think it starts in your big toe and it draws under your foot, up the back of your leg, all the way into the top of the hamstring there. Good. Nice. All right, just switch your feet. You can just step out of it. So left foot is in front. And start a little bit longer on the first lunge so you have a little bit of room to work here. Shorter is definitely easier, so you don't have to take the longest lunge you've ever taken. But then again, ground the foot, drag the hip back as you're straightening. You're thinking like you're trying to pull your feet together to take that left sit bone higher to the sky. Doing just a few of those breath by breath. Exhaling your way into the deepest part of the movement. So that signal, that exhale, helps us to manage the tension that will creep in. Cool. All right, once you're getting that leg pretty straight, then adjust where your back foot is. So you're getting both legs more or less straight here. Both toes are pointing pretty much at the front of your yoga mat. And then again, pull the hips back. Take the belly in, especially the belly in on the left side. Your feet, your hands, start walking your fingertips towards your back foot. Going slow. So this internal compression that you create by using your abdomen to fill into the back muscles. And then as the fingers pull you in there, keeping the length through your spine, keeping the work in your legs going. If you're like me, hamstring poses are hard. They're just the ones that, for me, benefit from a little bit more time spent in them. Good. All right, back to downward facing dog. And then take your right leg up to the sky. Do that twist one more time. Bend the knee, open up the hip. Wonderful. And then bring the knee forward. Let's do pigeon pose with that right knee in front. Walk your hands closer towards your legs, and then bend your back knee. So with your left hand, take your left foot, spin that foot a little more to the outer edge of the mat as you bring it all the way in, or you bring it in as much as you're able to. You can stay bowing forward if this already feels like it's a lot of sensation. As you're able to, you can also start to sit up taller, eventually slipping this foot more into the crease of your elbow like that. If you can get up, the next goal is to square, so dragging your knees together, and then you even have this option of clasping your fingers behind your head. Good. Yeah, I know. Use those legs. All right, let's let you bow forward. Let go of the foot. Come down onto forearms. And explore twists or explore what version of pigeon is best for you today. keeping the pelvis level. As you feel like you want it to go deeper, inch your back knee further back, as if the back leg is really pulling you there. So there's still tension in this back leg. It's trying to drag you back, and effectively, this is widening the top of the thigh bone and where it hits the hip. Good. Nice, relaxed breath, relaxed in face and eyes especially. It's a form of self-care, just the way you stay focused. You stay present with what you're doing. Start to work your way all the way back to down dog, taking your time to get there. Yeah, and then moving and just resetting for a moment. Again, if you want to do a vinyasa, that's perfectly fine as well. All right. Yeah. Good. Take your left leg to the sky. Bend the knee, take that twist once again. Yeah, Tyler. And then left foot forward or left knee forward, pigeon pose. If your hips are tighter, having your knees closer together, front to back, is going to help also. Bend the back knee with your right hand, take the foot, and rock. So you're rolling your back hip in as you bring the foot in. And then if you see, a lot of times, like I'll show you wrong too, is you come up and I undo it, right? I externally rotated my back leg. So I'm trying to do the opposite. I want internal to rotate that thigh back in, and the front hip tacks back so it stays turned out. If you can get the crease of the toes into the elbow crease, go for that. You can also take the left arm up. All of these, and then even potentially clasping your fingers behind you. Yeah, it's good. It's just even like kind of pulling the knees together, having like power in that position. Yeah, Kelsey, yeah. All right, release the foot, and then fold on forward. I say that like this phrase a lot, or I think I say this a lot. Like my idea is like we want to command these positions, which is saying that you have spent time working there. You've trained yourself to be familiar with a position so that you can elicit, like you can put extra strength into this, that you have the proprioceptive awareness of where you're supposed to be doing. Like you can feel things when things start to get off. And this is, versus a yoga practice that is aimed at getting you into these shapes, a lot of times kind of forcefully. And again, so like this is my because I am ultra worried and have been about like things like the arthritis and watching, because I've been fairly, I've used my body quite a lot, and I definitely want it to hold up well as I age. So it's really like thinking and overthinking and trying to break down like really what are the mechanical things that are not just yoga poses, that are not just yoga specific, but that really are like health and well-being of your body specific. Like the way we do that stuff, I think makes a huge difference. All right, you can start Heading back to downward dog, taking your time. Good. Awesome. And then walk to the front of your mat. Go down here. And then all the way down to lay on your back. This time I actually mean it. You can keep your knees bent. We're going to do bridge. So getting set up. Once you're down on your back, feet separated, hip distance apart. Lift and open your chest so that you roll the back of the head down into the mat a little heavier. And then go ahead when you're ready. Push the arms down, lift the hips up. And using your arms, the more you plug your arms down into the floor, that can be with the bent arm that I often will tell you to do. You could also do it with straight arms, but think as you move the arm bone into the ground, you're helping to retract both of your shoulder blades. So they're moving back, but also a little towards each other. They give more lift up through that chest. So this one's a weirder pose to feel like you have command of. So it's, thinking about the points of contact with the ground being really important. Primarily the back of your head. You're pushing the head into the ground rather than kind of crunching into your neck there. You can go up and down. You can hold at the top. Take your time to work into this and rest when you're ready to, once you've gotten through it. And then once you've had a chance to rest, go up and try again. You can take it a step further and go up to wheel pose. And that moment of, are you in command of the actions? When you approach it like that, or when you stop to check that you can do that, it should help you to troubleshoot anything that may not be feeling right. You should be able to feel things that are out of alignment when you use your muscles. And then so you can come down, you can make some adjustments, you can ask me. What's that? You look good, yeah. Yeah. See if you can turn your hands out more. Yeah, you can even turn them out more than that. You might be too wide also with your hands. Those are all things to just toy with, Stacy, because I think that looks like narrower is going to restrict you a little bit. It's going to create more stability, if you're narrower in your hands. So sometimes it's fine to go super wide, but if you tend to practice like that all the time there, it's worth, narrowing it up. This is something like Anusara people, we used to see this problem of you'd have a tiny little female practitioner in there. She'd be on one of these giant mats with the hands on the edge. I'm like, you're not that big. That's too wide. You're just kind of too loose in the shoulder. Sometimes that stabilizing, or I was telling Stacy, if you bring your hands closer together, for a lot of us that have been trained in the alignment-y styles that I have, we kind of got maybe potentially too wide. In a sense that when you go wide, you run the risk of overstretching things or being a little more aggressive, like that arthritic conversation I had where you're just forcing the flexibility into an area. been hard for me. I've been doing handstand much narrower than I ever learned to do handstand. Like just doing just different stuff, just to like try to figure this out and shore up all these little inefficiencies. Because I did handstand like here at one point, you know. Yeah. Same with me. Like I got mobility for days. Yeah. Because your shoulders are rotating the right direction. Yeah. All right. When you come on down, separate your feet a little bit wider apart and roll the knees to the right. Make sure your knees are still bent. The right foot can help pin the left knee down. Your right glute and hip are going to lift way off the floor. Let that, help them to do that. I totally botched this last week when I told you this. So in your left foot, if you really want to steer your knee into happiness, lift the toes up so the heel stays down. And you're externally rotating your shin, your lower leg. Good. And then flip the legs to go the other way. So knees are pointing to the left. Your left foot can help take the right knee down. Because if I feel, maybe you're out hiking or riding your bike or whatever and your legs are tired, if you don't want to just kind of crank the knee to the floor with that left foot, that's when, you might twist your right knee. So that lifting of the toes is something, if you do have maybe a little bit of instability in the knee or a lot of movement in there, that can help use the muscles to prevent the knee from rotating. Good. And then back up. Okay. So cross your right ankle now onto your left knee or thigh. Hold the back of the left leg with both hands. You can reach through and actually grab your shin, your ankle, so you're pulling, both segments of your leg, pinning them into each other. And then resist away with your right leg, the top ankle, the knee, trying to steer the hip more to the front of your mat. And as you do that, you can bring the legs in a little closer towards you. That little pulsing action in the right leg where, we did similar to what we did earlier, where you turn the action on, you try to kick your right knee into external rotation, and then you let it come back, and you do a few of those so you start to see if you can really, open that knee and that hip up with muscle strength. Good. Switch the legs. So left ankle is on the right leg. You're holding your right leg this time. Again, fire up your left toes. You do that by lifting and spreading your toes, especially your little toes, your fourth and fifth ones. And then keep that as you push the left knee forward. Again, not with your arms. You're doing it with the muscles in your legs. That's why it works, because you're strengthening a movement. You're telling these muscles, we need to be able to do this, so little by little they'll learn. Good. All right, release your legs. And then roll to your side, come up so you're sitting. I know, I'm going to make you do the same thing I did last week. We're going to do it differently, but I want to do Agni Stambhasana again this week. But I'm going to show you a different way to address how tough of a pose it is. Right ankle on top of left knee. You're trying to kind of stack your knees. And it's perfectly fine if you start like this. It's actually good that I'm going to... Nice thing you can do on the bottom leg, your left thigh, you like try to turn that one in first. So if you get in, you kind of dig your butt out and back, try to pull everything out. Now, you can sit back into this. We'll do both sides. So you're going to put your hand on the inside of your knee, you're going to push your knee up into your hand and resist it. And you can lay back so you're not hunching forward. You can just, sit tall. So push up really strongly, knee into hand. Your hand is matching that. You can push hard with your hand if your leg is working that hard. Try to ground your butt as you keep the knee lifting. Again, so you're sitting with good posture. Oh, good. And then relax for a second. We just want to really wake stuff up, and then we'll actually take it further. One more time. So then, hand on the knee. Again, you're going to lift the knee up. You're going to try to ground your glutes so you can sit with your chest. Keep that knee up. See if you can really go crazy for 3 more seconds. 2. Now, as you relax, you can push your knee down a little bit. Once you do it a little bit, you got to sit there and then push right back up into your hand again. If you feel like, oh shit, something's going to cramp, push your knee up hard. That'll prevent it from cramping if you can actually do it. All right, and then relax. See if you can send the knee down even a little further. Oh, the last final bit, you can give your hand to your inner thigh and push hard. You can give it a little sandal. Oh. All right, let's switch sides. Take it to the other one. You could keep doing rounds of this and working in and actually doing that pose and trying to hold it. I find this to be extremely helpful. Because it doesn't matter how many times, I can practice all the time. This is always going to be like this. I can quickly change it, but it's just learning how to change it. So you can turn that leg in so you get a good, nice base. Place your right hand on the inside edge of that left knee this time, lean back. Start to push the knee up into your hand, resisting with your hand. And then butt to the ground. That's the key thing. When you get that, then can you actually push your left sit bone into the floor and keep your left knee rising up? So you're unbinding the stuff that might be stuck in the inner hip. The first long one, just let it relax for a second. You can kind of wiggle and shake it out. These are just it's a stretch technique. This is kind of like PNF stretching more. It is a form of PNF stretching. Hand on the inside of the left knee, which might not mean anything to you, but I could explain it to you, but I don't know. Lift your knee into your hand again. And then glutes down. So the idea is you're turning off the stretch reflexes by firing your muscles so much. That's why you got to hold it for 8 seconds. Because as you hold, and these stretch reflexes are getting fatigued, you have this moment when you relax that you can go deeper. As you let the leg go, that's when you push your knee down slightly more, and then go right back into resisting knee up again. Knee lifts, butt down, really butt down so the pelvis is tipping forward. And then as you relax, as deep as you can get into it. Ooh. All right. And then take those legs out, just feet on the floor, a couple little windshield wipers, a little movement. You feel like the business has happened, the muscles are work, you get in there pretty quickly. You should, hopefully. Let's do one external one just for the hell of it. So do this. Shin box to the right, so you're going to knock your knees over to the right. It can be a perfect shin box. It doesn't, it'll make it harder the more boxed out you are. So this time, we're going to do this version with the foot on the floor and the knee lifting. So what you want to first make sure you're able to do is roll to the leg that's down. So it's your right leg. You want to turn your body to the right so that you're rotating your back leg, left thigh, in. Then from there, as much as you can keep that, the more you bow forward, the easier this gets. Put your hand on the outside edge of that back knee.
and then push, and then lift, your foot off the ground. You don't have to push the knee down, but you're just making sure that that right knee doesn't lift up. So knee into the ground, foot lifts, back to the floor, rest for a sec, do a couple. Knee down, foot lifts, roll in, so you keep turning towards the right. And then rest. You can do a few of these. On this last one, if you can reach back there, you can actually force yourself a little bit deeper, pull yourself more into that rotation. Activate your foot while you're still holding onto the foot, and then see if as you let go of the foot, you can keep it up there. Hard to do. All right, and then shake it out. Yeah, exactly, when all these things cramp on you. All right, knees to the left. All right, so now, same deal. You're going to knees point to the left. You're just turning, so you're really heavy in your left hip. You're rolled in. So then just remind that back knee to stay down. Flex your back foot. As you roll, you're just going to lift the foot off the floor. Like we're doing just pulses on the first couple here. So the foot comes up, knee pushes down. You give as much squeeze as you can to what's driving that. And then relax and go to the floor. And then do a couple. So you're just doing hard, controlled engagements. Yeah, I was going to say most of you pretty quickly figure out what's doing this, right? All the stuff on the outside edge of your hip there. Okay, and then once you had a chance, you want to try helping to take it a little further into range of motion. You use your hand to guide the leg deeper. You actually pull, you move it in there. But here's the cool part is okay, so you have that range of motion, but do you have strength to stay there? Spread your toes, see if you can keep the foot there. Can be helpful too, when you start to feel those muscles in the outer hip. If I've touched the muscle and you really learn to contract that muscle, because that's really what's driving this, that can be helpful. Cool, all right. A couple just little shake it outs. And then lay on your back, so stretch your legs straight, lay down on the floor. And then baby cradle, just your right leg. So you're going to reach up, grab your right foot, and pull it down to the floor. Once you have baby cradle, I did say baby cradle, but I meant happy baby, at least at first. And then take your left hand, cup the heel. So now you have both hands. So now you have more ability to pull back against your foot, which gives you the ability to push your foot firmly into your hand. So resist back with your foot, and then you can start to steer the foot across your body, kind of like baby cradle. So you're going from half happy baby, half baby cradle. All that stuff we did in the hips, think about, driving it. It's like pigeon pose, right? As you go to baby cradle, it's that shape. It's the fire log pose that we just did. So, using your leg muscles to try to pull you in there. Good. And then release that leg to the floor, shake it out, stretch it out long, and just make sure it, you can even pause just to notice how it feels. This can be a weird sensation if you feel like one of your legs just got longer than the other one. Bring the left leg in, second side, so it's half happy baby first. Left hand holds the little toe side of the foot. Bring the foot more medial, so more in towards your body. Push the knee more away from you. Once you're starting to get the knee deeper into this, reach up with your right hand, cup the heel. Now you have two hands to give it a little more juice. Keep your ankle still, steady, and then you're trying to steer the knee from kind of where your armpit is, more or less, to the front of the room as that foot travels across your body. Your hands are not yanking you into the thing. They're giving resistance to your leg, so the leg muscles have a boundary that they can fire out against. This is one reason why weight training works so well and body weight stuff is hard, is because your muscles will wake up under resistance. Like when you have to create it in your own body, it's a little trickier, and it's not going to be as much resistance necessarily. Good. All right, and then both knees into the chest. So happy baby, both of your legs this time, and then take just a little gentle rocking. It's one way of getting into the hips with some more really deliberate work rather than a bunch of time spent in hip poses, stretching poses. Good. And then start to stretch out, taking your Shavasana or a seated meditation pose or any kind of final position that you'd like to do. It really is your opportunity to rest, to meditate, to do something that requires a settled quality to be cultivated. Stillness as best as possible. So once you do get yourself positioned, then it's the game of watching your mind, noticing tension or little muscle flutters in the body, and making the choice to still those, to let go. When your mind wanders, starts to think of stuff, you just gently direct it back to a singular point of focus. It can be your breath, it can be any, meditation dharana. It can be like your puppy or your beloved. And start to deepen your breath. Remaining heavy and settled, even as you start to bring gentle movements back in. Working your way slowly to your right side and then back up to a seated position. And as you get back to your tall seat, taking a few breaths to open up to sit very tall, softening the face, the eyes, the eyelids, and gratefully folding your hands together in front of your heart. And it's to this syncing up. We can fight the flow, we can fight the energy that's all around us, or we learn the skills to identify really what is the flavor, what is the message being sent, and then skillfully line ourselves up with that so that we can flow along with the currents of the universe, the currents of grace. So that our practice allows us to find that richer, that deeper connection with the world. To the hope of that, take a deep breath in. And to your heart, you can bow. Namaste. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being here.